And we're back with the show. It's the PCC Multiverse. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here for the Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports, Fantasy Football, and the Lakers Fast Break. It is, of course, the best place to go each and every week for your pop culture news and insight as only we can bring them to you. And I know a lot of people will be happy because a lot of people are asking, when can you guys put out more videos on the Pop Culture Cosmos? So we're going to be uploading this on Friday when everything goes up. And so I know your weekend will be that much more fun with us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good Canadian friend. I was just telling her about someone I didn't even know was Canadian because I was binging
everywhere.
They're everywhere. I was binging The Bear, and one of the great performances is Oliver Platt as Uncle Jimmy. And I just found out he was Canadian. So there you go. But it
wild, right?
It is everywhere for a good thing. It's a good thing. Of course, it is a good friend indeed. It is, of course, the mastermind behind much of what you see at Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Wizards and Wine, and of course, Vampires and Vitae. It is one half of the great duet that we are here on this Friday show. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross. And Melinda, great to have you here. Big shout out to TJ for covering once again. Big shout out to Josh, who'll be having some things to say on Monday's show, but always great to have you here to bring your insight on the world of pop culture.
I'm sorry. I lost you a little bit.
Oh, I was going to say, I was giving you that perfect intro. That's okay.
Of course.
Excuse me. And here she is. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross, the fantastic part of our show, the great duet that we are, and just the best part of your day, giving you the greatest insight into pop culture.
Hey, how are you? Good to be back.
Great to have you back indeed. But we will have much to talk about here on today's show. A lot of stuff to talk about. I didn't even put on there Twisters coming out this weekend. I want to hear your thoughts on that because it's getting positive reviews, and I want to hear your thoughts on how big you think this spiritual sequel. It's funny because I was trying to explain to my wife, my daughter and I, my eldest daughter, we're trying to explain the idea of a spiritual sequel of a tornado movie to a previous tornado movie. But yes, it is a spiritual sequel. So we'll talk about that. Netflix had some huge numbers. How many more subscribers can they get? How many people are on this planet? You may be able to find that out by just gauging the number of Netflix subscribers because it is pretty big. And we'll talk about that on the show as well. Plus, we're going to be talking about The Boys season 4, which just ended. A very divisive season, nonetheless. I'll talk about that. Emmy nominations came out. So I definitely want to hear Melinda's thoughts on the surprises, things they got right, and things that she feels that they missed. So we'll talk about that on the show as well. But first, I've been waiting for almost 2 weeks for this answer from my good friend Melinda Barkhouse Ross, and that is because of what you heard last week or early last week in regards to the Skydance Paramount proposed merger, which again needs to go through all the regulatory commissions, yada yada yada. Would not go through until late next year, but it's pretty much a merger / buyout / Skydance paying $8 billion check to go ahead and take controlling interest of Paramount going forward. Your thoughts, not on the Mission Impossible series, because I think that's always going to be as long as, of course, Tom Cruise wants to do it. Some concerns of me is for me is Paramount Plus, the future for that. Obviously, that's going to be in some peril. But Star Trek, you have this big entity that's been a major part of Paramount for decades. It depends. The level of success is however you determine it. We've talked about it ad nauseum on the show. you as a Star Trek fan may see it as more successful than maybe someone that's not a Star Trek fan.
Sure.
So I want to hear your thoughts with this proposed merger. What is your level of concern in regards to Star Trek now and the future that it may hold, seeing the fact that they are already, they've talked about already making massive cuts, and they already have with the cancellation, thank goodness, of Halo. I can't believe I'm saying thank goodness, but yeah, that show pretty much sucked except for one episode. But go ahead.
I mean, that one episode was great, though.
That one episode is absolutely the way I imagined the fall of Reach. But yeah, after that, it went downhill again.
So I think that with this merger, I know a lot of people are super skeptical about it, but I'm trying to look on the positive side for a change.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm going. And you see them with successful IPs like Mission Impossible and stuff like that. And I mean, there's no doubt that those movies make money. They're always exactly what you expect them to be. Could this be perhaps a shot in the arm for Star Trek to take a different direction and bring it to a bit of a younger audience that we've been talking about for a while now? They've kind of broke that a little bit, I think, with Lower Decks. So maybe this is an opportunity for them to continue to, grow from that.
Which they canceled.
Yes. But perhaps after this merger and everything happens, we're going to see some stuff come back. Maybe we'll see some live version stuff that's a little more similar to what Lower Decks was.
Prodigy is done really well on Netflix.
Yep. I'm choosing to feel positive about it. I'm choosing to have fresh eyes on the franchise with fresh opinions about it, and perhaps a little bit of outside of the box thinking when it comes to what direction Star Trek should go in next.
It's funny because Strange New Worlds, even though it hasn't really gotten in a new audience per se to Star Trek fans, it's some of the best Star Trek that's come out in decades.
Yeah, it's really good.
And the announcement of the Star Trek Academy show that's coming up with Paul Giamatti as the lead villain and Holly Hunter.
Yeah.
I feel like talking about an early 2000s movie or a late 90s movie or something, but it is Paul Giamatti and Holly Hunter in lead roles for this. Gets me pumped. I don't know if that's still going to continue, if the new owners will say yay or nay on that. I know that they can't stop the Michelle Yeoh movie, Section 31, I believe, the movie. That's already been wrapped or filmed or in process, so they already can't stop that train from leaving the station. So I'm excited to see what Michelle Yeoh can bring. Some of her projects are a big hit, and some of them aren't a big hit. Let's just be honest about her last 5, 7, 10 years. She's had some really, really good successes and some stuff that, maybe you would say she's not had success with, but I'm hoping that this will get her back on the track as far as that's concerned. And obviously winning the Academy Award will probably bring this to light as far as her success there. But yeah, I have great concerns about what Star Trek will do going forward. I know that the Skydance Paramount merger was done under the pretext by the current Paramount, the family that owns, or not owns, but primarily the owners of Paramount, the ones that had it for generations. They did not want it broken up because that's the first temptation for a lot of these companies, Sony and some other companies that had interest. They wanted to come in, they wanted to buy it. I believe they still can if there's a better offer. Right. But I don't think we will make one because they want to break it up. And that's the edict of the forces that are in Paramount right now, that they don't want it broken up. I still have a fear that it will be broken up, but I'm not sure that's against the best outcome for Star Trek. Star Trek in the hands of a Netflix, in the hands of a Disney, yes or no, had their, yeses and nos on that. Wouldn't that be weird having the same place home for Star Trek
and Star Wars? Ooh. You know what? It would save couples a lot of money because there's always one Star Trek and one Star Wars together for some reason.
HBO Max.
Yeah.
I still think they would be great if Netflix came along and said, "We'll just buy this IP." I think they would do wonders with it, and I think that would really work out best for them. But I know some people, again, would be apprehensive about breaking it up, but that's my fear, is that they would get broken up and sent to a place where they don't find ultimate success for that IP.
Yeah. That would, oof, that would be truly tragic to me. But no, I don't know. I'm just gonna try to hold on to all the positive vibes I can find. I think until we see some kind of movement, then I will start to judge harshly. But for now, I'm going to fall on the side of thinking that this is a good thing with only lots and lots of potential on the horizon.
Fair enough, my friend. So if you keep a positive outlook on it, I will as well.
Okay.
Again, hopefully this will provide a necessary inflection of cash and better decisions to be made going forward. I know the decision on Halo, giving it a third season, was already met with cancellation there. I can't say I'm too surprised seeing how much that show cost, which is a shame, Melinda, because, and I'll end this segment of it on Halo, because I'm kind of disappointed that Halo never became the true. They had the money, they had the resources, they had the ways to make this a compelling watch that would bring in a new audience
Yeah.
while still retaining the fandom that is for Halo out there. Yet they chose to go different routes in storytelling that ultimately, I think, did this show in.
I wonder how much of it was. I mean, you don't suppose that the actor was a little bit against keeping the helmet on, do you?
Oh, I'm sure it was. I'm sure that's the case. I
Mm.
I I don't I okay. I said I would say I'm not sure as in I've heard reports or anything like
Right.
that, but
Right.
I can understand human nature, and
Yeah.
my 55 years on this earth understanding human nature tells me that more than likely someone as a star of the show would constantly be telling people backstage, I am the star of this show.
Right.
Thus, I need my face out there if I'm leading this series.
Yeah.
When in all actuality, as you see in the picture behind me, in the poster behind me, the predominant amount of time, Master Chief has his helmet on. And to some people, it was a really big deal to us in season
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Josh and I particularly went ape, the rest, bleep,
Uh-huh.
over him, just like, whoo, oh, there's a wind blowing. I think I'll take the helmet off again and
Yeah.
again and
Yeah.
again. And
Mhm.
season two, he took it off even more. There were 4 episodes, I believe, that he didn't even have it on or
Right.
anywhere near him.
Yeah.
So this is very frustrating for fans like that, like myself, who, I don't say I grew up with Halo, but it was the early part of my 2000s playing Halo for many years, and just believing that that's the way it should be. So, yeah, seeing the mistakes that were made in the storytelling, the writing was at times really awful. Uh, I mean, the Covenant girlfriend that he had a relationship with, and people are just like all over the place on that one. And yeah,
Yeah.
there were side stories that uh, really were unnecessary, that they didn't need to go ahead and add to the narrative. There was like a gangster, like mafia space thing that was side story that was going on, that I don't know why in season one, and they tried to circle back those characters around in season two, and it was very clumsy there. And yeah, again, when they focused on the mythology, like they did with the Fall of Reach, when they led you up and did the actual Fall of Reach in episode 4, if I remember correctly,
Right.
that was the high point. That was the only point, and that was where Halo truly shined.
Ugh. I'm so upset on behalf of Halo fans. Like I understand. I understand that level of being upset with something that they've done to something that you care so much about. I get it. As a Star Trek fan, I understand.
And then they went to okay, spoilers, because you just go ahead and catch it now. It's
Yeah,
already too late.
please do.
Yeah, it's already canceled. So
Yeah,
they already went to the Halo. Spoilers.
right.
So really, where's there left to go?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's just, I mean, they could have done they were look like they were going to follow into the same pattern as the original Halo, where they go into various areas and aspects of the Halo universe as far as in the Halo itself, and that would have been interesting to see. But I know they will probably screw that one up too. So I don't think we'll ever get the Halo that fans truly deserve.
I was going to say the Halo we deserve. Yeah.
Yes, and that's a shame, because again, as we've talked about on the show, the video game adaptations are a lot better. Fallout is amazing.
Yeah.
The Last of Us is amazing. And with the same amount of budget, same amount of resources, they couldn't get it done. And it, even with Steven Spielberg executive producing, or whoever's executive producing or watching over it, it just couldn't get it done. And Microsoft 343, the studios, they have a chance to watch over this and say yay or nay. And just seemingly like you were just like hands off. But if it had done well, guess who's the first one promoting it and trying to correlate it back to what they were doing on their console? Xbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similar to what PlayStation did when The Last of Us started really getting big as far as the show is concerned. Whether
Right.
the last, wasn't there conveniently timed Last of Us Part 2? Is it remake? Reissue?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So conveniently timed. There you go, by PlayStation. But
Mhm.
yeah, again, it is what it is. But I am concerned for the Star Trek IP, my friend, and I'm hoping for the best. And I'm hoping that all the good stuff that's on the way, Michelle Yeoh's stuff, the Star Trek Fleet Academy show, Star Trek Strange New Worlds season 3, all those things will get the light of day. And maybe finally with the Skydance infusion. Remember, what was the film company or the production company that made the best Star Trek movies in this century, not the previous century with Wrath of
Yeah,
Khan?
it was these guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Skydance Studios. Yeah. I
Skydance
thought that they
Media.
were involved. Yeah, in the newer ones.
There you go. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, but
There's hope. There's hope. There's hope.
there is hope. There is hope. But if you have thoughts on the Skydance Paramount merger that is taking place, $8 billion and all that, going to probably be ratified and finally finalized probably sometime late next year. But if you have thoughts on how this will affect the future of Star Trek, please let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, The Boys season 4, it just ended. And as Melinda would say, oh my goodness.
Mhm.
It's very divisive.
Mhm.
And I will say that it wasn't as wild and crazy as previous seasons. And I think that probably disappointed some people in that aspect.
Sure. Yeah.
This was more, and I'll just go back to what we talked about, I think, a few weeks ago, and I've talked about it with other people as well, is that when they announced that season 5 would be the final season, you already set up season 4. You gave that season a lot harder work to do to interest fans.
Yeah.
Because season 4 was more about developing characters, trying to extend the storyline, trying to plant in little seeds for maybe that things that will pay off in season 5. But people don't have always the patience for that. They want the same story that they enjoy being told continuously. Now, I do like the fact, spoilers, and this is going to be going to spoilers. Do you want spoilers or no?
Yeah, please do. Oh,
Okay.
I'm awfully sorry about
the dog wants
that.
spoilers, but
Whoa.
I will say, when it comes to the spoilers, the fact that they were able to go ahead and have some type of political outcome, as far as it's concerned, that mirrors what's going on in our society right now, I think that was very deliberate. I don't know if that was, that's going to be in itself, it's going to be divisive, but the outcomes really put, and I'll be vague as I can, the outcomes have put the boys, the group of the boys, in some really perilous situations now, and it has them now, instead of their being the hunters, they're now the hunted. And I'll just be as vague as I can on that. So, in that aspect, I like that twist, but the fact in getting there, the process in getting there, I think to a lot of people troubled a lot of people. So it did not garner the kind of love and admiration that it has in previous seasons. Do you see, though, the hope that the boys in season 5 can rectify a lot of these things with a solid way to go and close out the show?
I mean, it depends on how thoroughly you want things to be done,
Mhm,
right? I mean, a
mhm,
lot of stuff, if you wanted to write it so you get it done with quickly, I feel like there's a way that you could do it, and you could probably solve most of those problems in a couple of episodes. Now,
mhm,
it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to leave people pretty upset about stuff, but I mean,
mhm.
it's a doable thing. It could be done, and then you could kind of resurrect the season from there, I think. But it's definitely will be a lot of work. That's for sure.
It will be, but, take, for instance, Cobra Kai,
Hmm.
which just debuted its final season this week with part 1 of 3 parts of episodes. They're going to be releasing various times. They're really stretching this out. Netflix has found a thing in stretching these part 1, part 2, part 3s, and now it's
Yeah,
getting into a part 3. Yeah, so they're stretching it out. I expect Stranger Things to follow that similar path of a part 1, part 2, and part 3 if all goes the way that they wanted to with Netflix. We'll talk about Netflix in a second. So, with that, I think the boys should just be wary of the response they're getting from this audience now and the divisiveness, because it was universal love for 3 seasons in regards to the boys. So, when you have a season that doesn't gel as well, hopefully this will refocus the group. I don't know how much they are into filming season 5 already. They may already be done with it. I don't know for a fact if they are, but yes, whatever's done or whatever they're planning to be doing, hopefully will have a better focus so that it will get everybody back on track to finish out this show strong.
yeah, I think that they'll be able to achieve it. I mean, the show is wild and unpredictable enough that you could do something and make it make sense.
I believe you on that. I agree. And again, I just think that with the boys, again, I want to be very vague because I know not everybody's caught up with it as of yet, but
Yeah,
it does put the boys in a perilous position. And I like that because you had something familiar with them trying to go after the soups for
right.
years. And now
Yes.
it's the other way around. How they got there, you can argue, was it neat? Was it not neat? Was it convoluted? Was it done well? I mean, that's to your opinion on that. I think it could have been a better season. I think sometimes they were falling too much in love as far as the character development is concerned, which you do
Right.
want to develop characters, but sometimes you stick too much to a certain storyline that maybe is you lose some of the focus of your audience. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, I'm hoping that they'll wrap things up in a nice tidy bow. But ever since Game of Thrones, ever
Yeah.
since we watched that last season of Game of
Yeah.
Thrones, I
Yeah.
don't have automatic faith that, man, they're gonna nail it. Man, they're gonna nail it. I was
Yeah.
so happy to see Tokyo Vice, and I'll talk about Tokyo Vice here later in a sec, when they nailed their ending for
Yeah.
their show, which they had a feeling might be their last. And
Right.
when you do that and you can do that well, I'm just hoping that they'll take season 4 as a reminder of what to do and how to focus on getting season 5 right.
Yeah, it is easy, and I mean, I think I feel like we were all traumatized or victimized, maybe is the word to use by
Do,
Game of Thrones. So I get the apprehension.
do you become a little bit numb to shock and awe with the boys and Game of Thrones, because there's really, I don't know, there's how many other things can really just like, did you see that on the boys? Did you see that on Game of Thrones? Did you see that on House of the Dragons?
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
that's it's hard for me to really get say that's like, wow, that's something I haven't seen before, because they've really gone to places in both a graphic and creative way that makes it
Yeah,
hard for them to back that up.
yeah, absolutely. But I think that um the shock and awe that I experienced with Game of Thrones is different than the shock and awe that I experienced with The Boys. And I'm not sure what exactly that difference is. I don't know if it's that. Hang on, sorry.
Okay. I can understand that, and I can empathize that. Yeah, that's no problem. I
But I think,
understand.
yeah, I think that maybe there is something just in the kind of shock that they're using in The Boys that it hits, it hits in a way sometimes that, and oh my gosh, this is, I'm going to sound like an old lady here, and I don't mean to, and I'm not upset about anything, but like it just, it feels a little not predictable, but it feels like it's like lowbrow shock. Does that?
It is in some ways lowbrow, if I could say that properly, because they do go sometimes to the lowest common denominator. But then again, a lot of these individuals, that's what they're trying to bring you. They're trying to bring in some of
Yeah.
these individuals that even though they portray themselves as, these superheroes or these high class operation hunting superheroes, they in essence are willing to go to the lowest common denominator to get what their point is across or get what they need to get done. They're willing to do what is necessary, and the writers, they're willing to go to the lowest common denominator as possible and see what they get. They're willing to push the envelope. And the problem is, when you push the envelope so many times, are you just doing it to better the story, or are you doing it just to do it?
Sure. Well, yeah, and I think that's, I mean, okay, fair. I probably missed a part of the point of it, was that some of that lowbrow stuff was because of the way that the characters are. So clearly I missed that point, went right over my head. But yeah, I think that
Well, but that's your
sometimes,
opinion. I respect that
yeah,
100%.
I suppose so. I just, I don't know. I'm not trying to say that the show is bad or that I didn't enjoy the show. It just felt like sometimes it was it, it's like watching gosh, how could I, like
Well, a lot of people get turned off to it because of the gore and the shock and the sex. They equate it like back in the 80s when the Porky's movies came out, and people were absolutely just turned
yes,
off on it. But there was a
yes,
segment of the audience that loved it, which is why
yes.
they made several of those
They,
movies. So,
they really did.
yeah.
Wow. We really watched them too. So they didn't age well. But no, I think that you've probably uncovered something that I hadn't even put together right there. So here we go. We're all learning things together in Pop Culture Cosmos.
Okay. Well, again, again, when it comes to The Boys, it is something where they do go for the lowest common denominator quite a bit on that show, and it is not to everyone's taste. Believe me and trust
Yeah.
me, it is not to everyone's taste. But season 4 kind of ended on an note for me. Again, I liked where they're headed with the scenes and the roles are switched now. But again, how they got there, again, it's up for you to debate. Wasn't the worst thing I've seen, but wasn't up to the standards I've seen from the first 3 seasons. But maybe they'll close it out in season 5. But what are your thoughts out there on The Boys season 4? We'd love to hear it. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, 1/2 hour down, 1/2 hour to go at the pain that I inflict on you each and every week, known as the PCC, Pop Culture Cosmos, my friend. Always great to have you here. I love teasing you.
Of course.
But of course, the movie Twisters is coming out. Glenn
Yes.
Powell, all the ladies are just oohing and eyeing. I've already seen my social media. I can't wait to go see Twisters. I can't wait to go see Glenn Powell. What movie is he in again? It's like, yeah, okay. But Twisters, the spiritual successor to the 90s movies with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt, Twister. Twisters is coming out this weekend. It is expected to do decent business this weekend. It's getting solid reviews for a spiritual sequel. So your thoughts, do you have any memories of the original Twister movie back in the 90s?
Absolutely. I remember the anxiety that I felt when the measuring machine, I can't remember what they called it, but Dorothy or something, and
Mhm.
it fell over on the side, and all of the little measure things, the
The
balls fell out of
balls,
the
yeah, came
thing,
out.
and they went everywhere, and they had to like turn around and put it all back together. And yeah, I just remember that, like feeling absolute panic over that. So I have great memories of the movie, and this would be one that would be really fun to go see in, the highest level audio and video that you can get, around where you live, because it's going to be one of those movies where the sound design is going to be absolutely through the roof, and I mean, as an audio nerd, I'm kind of excited about that.
XD would be my recommendation.
Oh
Like,
man, yeah,
I know that IMAX is great too, but my recommendation, there's what XD, I think the Dolby, there's those special, because the first time I saw Dune Part 2
yeah,
earlier this year, I didn't get to see it in IMAX. I got to see it on a regular screen, but with Dolby XD, and that worm scene
right.
was tremendous. I
I
was
bet.
going like, oh, riding like I'm riding with Timothée Chalamet on top of the sandworm on that, and then to see it in IMAX afterwards, it's like the visual part of it was just captivating just as much for me. But
Yeah.
yes, if you're into sound, might I suggest anywhere that has the Dolby XD, I think is the title of those specialized theaters. But yeah, I will say though, Twisters, again, a lot is riding on it for at least 1 week to hold up after a soft week last week, because Despicable Me 4 was already in its second week.
Right.
Long Legs actually surprised a lot of people. The independent movie from Neon with Nicolas Cage. But Twisters is expected to do well because Glenn Powell is the hot ticket right now in movies as far as the leading man is concerned. A
He
Hitman,
is?
yeah, coming off the success of Top Gun Maverick as the number
Oh,
3 guy behind Tom Cruise. He then played Anyone But You alongside Sidney Powell. Everybody already wants to marry those two in real life, but even though they have significant others in their real lives, but their chemistry works so well. That became a big hit, even though you and I at the time talked about it. It was like it wasn't getting off to the greatest start, but it kept playing and it kept playing. It kept playing. People kept seeing it and seeing it. And by the time it got to Valentine's Day, it became a really good success overall for Glenn Powell. And then he had Hitman come out to straight to Netflix pretty much. And that has been a huge hit for him. So this movie, more so than the Twisters part of it, I think is banking on the success or the popularity, the newfound popularity for Glenn Powell.
yeah, I'm happy. You know what? Anytime one of those guys from the before times makes a comeback, I'm thrilled. So no, I think it's great. And yeah, there's a long list of ladies also in my Facebook feed and my Instagram feed and my TikTok feed of who are just really excited to see him back and all that good stuff. So
I
great.
bet, I bet, I bet.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So, I mean, if that's going to get to the theaters and start having people spend money, absolutely, in
Yep.
advance of what's coming out next week, because next week our show is going to be focused on possibly the biggest movie of the year.
Right.
Yes, starring an Australian and a Canadian. Uh,
Yes.
yes, yes. There you
Yes.
go.
It's funny
Canadians
how
are everywhere.
often those two things actually should work together. Like it's funny. The Australia and Canada, the two of them just seem to go hand in hand so nicely. We
Playing
complement each other somehow.
playing in an American Marvel movie. It's so funny, isn't it? Yep. And then
Truly international, darling.
exactly. And then most of the stars of well, not most of the stars, but some stars, like for instance, Doctor Strange
Yeah.
is British. So yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so funny because British, Australia actors and Canadians can sound just as good as far as for American English actors, but it doesn't usually work well the other way around. And I'll leave it at that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It can be tough.
it can be tough. There's a couple out there that Tessa Thompson, I think, has a good
Mhm.
accent. So we'll leave it at that. But Glenn Powell is coming out this weekend. for the latest on that. So we'll go ahead and make sure we give you the box office numbers on Monday's show. Speaking of Marvel, though, before we head to the break, my friend, I want to hear your thoughts on some big news that came down from Marvel. And it wasn't just the fact that the very divisive Captain America trailer dropped. I don't know why that's so divisive to me. Oh, I know why. There's a character that for political reasons is very divisive. And you can read that on one of the trade papers on that, because I don't want to go too much in that, because that's probably going to give us a lot of brushback if I do. So, but there are divisive reasons why Captain America: Brave New World was a little bit divisive there. But the news for the Avengers looks good, my friend, because Variety reported and dropped the exclusive bombshell that the Russo brothers are coming back home to direct the Avengers movies. Your thoughts? Their history after they left after Endgame, mixed. I mean, of course, the success that they found as producers for Everything Everywhere All at Once, that's a high. The Gray Man, good numbers overall, although they spent over $200 million on that movie. So I don't know if Netflix feels like they got the return on that one. They did some other stuff too, hit and miss there. But they're coming back home to Marvel to double man, the Avengers movies. Your thoughts on the Russo brothers coming back home to Marvel?
I mean, home is where the heart is.
Okay.
And sometimes that matters a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you think it'll provide a better narrative for the Avengers movies and for the MCU? Well, next week's movie starring a Canadian and Australian, that is hugely important, and we'll talk about more why it's hugely important. But that movie next week is really important for the future of Marvel in so many different ways.
Yeah.
It may be more important than Infinity War and Endgame because of how shaky the Marvel universe has been. But coming back into it, do you think this is a good move by Marvel to bring back the Russos?
I think so. I'm okay with it.
You're okay with it?
I am. I can't quite explain why, but when I saw that news, I wasn't like, oh, throwing my hands up in the air and, rubbing my forehead like Robbie does. There was none of that. So to me that seems like a positive. I wasn't.
Just a solid move.
Yeah, it feels like to me. It feels like it makes sense.
They have a track record of success with Marvel
Yeah.
movies, so it's a
Yeah.
safer bet than bring it over to an indie director to go ahead and say, "Hey, you want to helm this $350 million Avengers movie? Go for it."
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I can
Like that.
understand that. Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, the Russo brothers have been, or at least close to, coming to an agreement to helm the next two Avengers movies. So we want to hear your thoughts on that, plus also as well, The Boys Season 4 and anything else going on in the pop culture. Please let us know your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But before we get to the Emmy nominations and spend our last 15 minutes on that, I wanted to hear your thoughts. Netflix. Oh, and by the way, Netflix.
Yeah.
They just announced today that they had exceeded Wall Street analysts' expectations.
Yes.
Another 7-8 million. They're currently right in and around, unless you cancel your Netflix, that might change the whole thing. But 277 million subscribers.
Woof.
I was thinking about this when I first heard that, and I'm driving on the way, and I'm thinking to myself, they'll have on this earth everybody subscribed to Netflix except for I was reading a story the other day about this tribe. They actually showed the first pictures, the best pictures of this tribe, that have not that are not I would say untouched, uncontacted, not contacted, not touched.
Sure.
They're totally free of any technology or anything of that whatsoever.
Right.
Netflix will find a way to get them to subscribe. But all kidding aside, your thoughts? I could just, because the picture was showed them like about 30 of them on the beach.
Oh my
God
gosh,
bless
right.
them, man. I'm hoping that
Yeah.
people just leave them alone. It was like a long distance shot, not disturbed.
Yeah.
They had no idea that the cameraman was there. Hoping that in 20 years we won't find them all with like portable laptops with Netflix on it. But
God, that would be disappointing, wouldn't it?
yes, but your thoughts on Netflix achieving 277 million subscribers?
Yeah, that's a lot. I guess putting a stop to that password sharing really did have significant impacts, huh?
Yes, it's
Um,
the smartest move they've made in a long time.
yeah. Yeah. But I'm not really excited about them starting to lean on commercials. And
Does this surprise you though?
it doesn't, but I mean, once we start with commercials, then we're just gonna end up back with like regular TV again.
Well,
And
it is
I
regular
don't
TV.
want that anymore.
I mean, people talked about, oh yeah, I'm going to go to streaming because I'll spend less money and I won't have to pay the large bills I did with cable or satellite
Mm,
or anything like that.
yeah,
Well, flash forward years later now after COVID, 4 or 5 years later now, as far as when streaming really got hot, and you're paying as much as you did when you cut the cord. So
right.
with all the bills, all the tiers and whatnot, or when I go to Amazon now, or I go to Hulu, which I just signed up for a month so I could crunch the bear, I am getting the ads. They become like 30 seconds, and now they go to 90 seconds
Yeah,
during it. It is now basically watching the same broadcast television I was watching, except with the ability to curse, to
yeah,
swear, and
right.
to
Yeah,
show R-rated material, which I couldn't see before on broadcast television. But it is
right.
essentially broadcast television now that I'm
Yeah.
seeing. It has now gotten to the place where we all feared it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I was a traditional broadcaster, I would have problems. I would be going to my lawyers constantly trying to find a way to fight that. Their ability to sell ads is going to directly impact my business platform, and there needs to be some kind of there needs to be some kind of equalization or something that happens. I'm not exactly sure what the answer is, but it's kind of like when satellite radio came up for traditional radio, right? Everybody was
Mhm.
like, "Oh gosh, it's so much better than regular radio." But we didn't really lose that much in terms of the audience that was already listening to radio anyway. But what we did find was happening was um, as the shows that were on satellite radio had more and more and more talk content to them that was just like nonsense talk, like just shooting the afternoon tea.
Something like that.
Um, yeah, something like that. Um, you know, it actually made it better for us in a way. Like people came back to us more often than not. So that's kind of interesting. But I don't know that traditional TV is going to have that because the commercials are so intrusive. Um, and especially now that we've all sampled the good life and we've not had commercials on all of these services for so long. And now they're starting to introduce them. And it really does underscore, how upsetting sometimes that can be.
I'll tell you what, my friend, that was very well said as always. And I love the analogy and the comparison to satellite radio, because satellite radio is there, but it's hurt. It's in a
Yeah.
place where it's much
Yeah.
different than it was at its peak. So we'll see what happens though. But Netflix, is it the fall? Is it the Roman Empire? And are we waiting for the fall of the Roman Empire when it comes to Netflix, my friend?
I think there'll always be something on Netflix, but it'll
But you see what
become
I'm saying? They're right now, they're eating the grapes, they're having the luscious
yeah.
parties,
Oh,
they're,
yeah.
all that good stuff,
Yeah.
because they're enjoying life. They're
Yes.
at the peak of their civilization, in my
Absolutely. They all have vomitoriums for when they eat too
yes.
much. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
gross.
I think we're getting near the peak of Netflix. Or can it go higher? Can it go beyond 300? I wouldn't be surprised, but I think we're getting to the peak point of Netflix before there's any kind of backlash. But we'll see. Again, as long as they keep on getting this material like Stranger Things, Umbrella Academy, which they're closing out as well, Cobra Kai. They have to keep replacing these shows that they're ending with just as talked about shows. And as long as we're doing that and we're watching that, they'll go ahead and keep on having success. But yeah, is this the peak of Netflix? We'll find out. Only history will tell us, let us know. So let us know out there your thoughts on Netflix achieving 277 million subscribers and Twisters at the box office. How well will it do? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, I thought I would leave the second juiciest thing for last outside of your Star Trek thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, speaking of television shows, the Emmys announcing their nominations this past week. So get out your pen and paper. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to get out pen and paper if you want to keep along with the list. But a show that we have admired and we were hoping they would get right. They did, my friend. They really did with Shogun. FX's, Disney's, Hulu's, whatever you want to say. Shogun, 25 nominations.
Perfect.
Yes. And FX followed that up. FX, Disney, Hulu, whatever you want to say there.
Yeah.
Because it's all Disney. And at the end of the day, when we're talking about The Bear getting 23 nominations. And I will tell you that season 3 was still a good watch for me. Season 2 was truly outstanding. I just crammed all 3 seasons here in the past 4 days. And as someone who got a really big hit of The Bear, I can see why there's the allure. Your thoughts first off on Shogun and The Bear. FX finishing number 2 overall in nominations to guess who?
Netflix.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. You move on to the bonus round. Yes.
How about that?
How about that? But your thoughts, usually it's HBO Max. So that's that was kind of surprising. But your thoughts on the top 2 Emmy nomination getters. Again, Shogun, outstanding for 9 episodes. The Bear, this was based on season 2, not season 3, by the way, everyone. I know season 3 just finished, but I guess the qualifications were on season 2. Your thoughts on The Bear and Shogun stealing the spotlight for the Emmys?
I mean, 2 shows that really deserve it. Shogun was phenomenal. And you know how we always talk, and when we're talking about it, I guess we're trying to maybe justify an episode of a show that we didn't like too much. I try to convince you that it's a shopping episode. It's necessary. You need that to kind of break the tension.
Filler episodes.
Yeah. There wasn't any of that in Shogun.
Just that last episode. They just didn't line up.
Yeah, I mean, okay, arguably. But I mean, it's
episode
really
9 was so good though.
It's really good. If you have not watched Shogun, shame on you. Go take care of that right away. Stop whatever you're doing right now and go watch Shogun.
I will just say this. I think that if you watch it and especially episode 9, you would just go ahead and hand Anna Sawai the Emmy. You just walk up there and say, Anna Sawai, this is yours.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. Here you go.
Sorry to everyone else.
Yep.
This is yours. Just here, have it. It's yours.
You know what? Make that particular award just part of the pre-awards that don't get broadcast on television. That's how deserving. Yeah.
She did such an amazing job.
Oh my gosh.
Just out of nowhere, just taking a role. It's funny because a lot of it's timing. When you get these as an actor or as an actress, it's like right place, right time. Maybe she hasn't been given that opportunity to this level before, and she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she was so good every single episode. I never saw her acting. Do you know what I mean? Like not for a second. It was good stuff. Brilliant.
I also know that in the supporting category, Haruki Sanada will probably be well thought of as well for his performance. Yeah, there's just a lot of great places to go to when it comes to what's going on with that as far as that's concerned. Oh, he's best actor drama. Sorry, best actor drama as far as he's good. It's for the only person who didn't get it. Well, I'll leave you as far as the nominations are concerned. There was one person that was not cited in the nominations, and it was the individual that wasn't of Japanese or Asian descent, as far as I believe, from what I was saying, as far as the lead star crew, and it was interesting how that was the case. And you know what, more power to the crew that was there that did this. So yeah, absolutely. So excellent performances by everyone all around. Yes, the bear though. The bear. Have you seen the bear? Have you seen the bear?
No, I managed to work in a restaurant for a minute, and that was more of enough of the restaurant experience. I didn't need to watch it on TV.
My gosh, it gets intense at times.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
and it's from what I understand and everything that I've read and little clips that I've watched here and there of the show, it's it's like scarily accurate. It's scarily, I don't even think that's a word, but it's yeah.
I could see that. I could
Yeah.
see that it being that accurate. It is, I don't want to say organized chaos, because that gives organized chaos a really good name. In this case, it is chaos,
Right.
just
Yeah.
chaos, at that particular restaurant that they've created.
Mhm.
And the F-bombs, if you're, again, this is because they're allowed to go ahead and push the envelope. If you're squeamish about language, this is not the show for you. But if you
True
understand that
story.
this happens in the real world, as you said, you've had your taste of it.
Yep.
Pardon the pun there. But I will say though that it is a very well acted piece, a very well acted. I was worried about though. There's this episode in season 2 where they get together for a family get together for Christmas. It's kind of a flashback. Jamie Lee Lewis is in it. Not Jamie. Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis is in it. There's oh my gosh, the list is, of course, it had Oliver Platt. Just so many different individuals of note. And John Mulaney was in it as well. John Bernthal was in it as well. So yeah, just so many great performances in this one episode. I always worry when you have this all-star studded lineup for one particular episode that they're all trying to outdo each other. Does that make
Right.
sense when you
It
have
does.
that? You're not sure if everybody's going to get the appreciation. Bob Odenkirk was in that episode. So you've got all these actors trying to, and it is really an intense episode. So your thoughts on when you have them all together for those particular type performances that, we could see a situation where it goes wrong, but in this case for the bear, it really goes all right.
Yeah, and I think that that's the thing is you have to have everybody involved kind of on the same page about the project. And
Mhm.
once everybody is on board with the project and everybody is on the same page in from the beginning of the the time working together, the show, whatever you want to call it, then I think that you're going to have a better experience overall because as soon as you understand that there's not necessarily a single person who's going to shine all of the time, I think that you need to make sure that that's plain and make sure that everybody is cool with all of that happening. And if they're not, then they're not the right person for the role. It's really
Yeah.
that easy, I think.
No, I hear you. I hear you. So the reason why I say that is because I think that this show really, they're not trying to outdo each other or one up each other, but it just
Right.
comes off sometimes. I think that there's the material that they're getting. We talked about the writing on other
Yeah.
shows not being good. The writing is everything in The Bear. So I know you said you don't watch it, but the writing
Yeah.
is everything when it comes to The Bear. And in doing so, it has to give a showcase and a spotlight to all these different characters. And I
Yeah.
think that's the best part of the show is that it does just that. In season 3, again, people had its ups and downs with that one, but there's a performance on there based around a pregnancy between, Jamie Lee Curtis is one of the characters in it. Actually think it's better than her performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I'll leave it
Oh,
at that.
wow.
Yeah,
Mm.
but she was nominated for an Emmy for her season 2 performance, Fishes, and she's terrific in that as well. So yeah, if you get a chance, I know you said you don't want to see it, but if you want to see the non-restaurant episodes of The Bear, I highly recommend it. How about that? So Yeah, but
Fair.
any other things stand out to you, as far as the Emmys? I
Well,
know there's some things in there we could talk about.
definitely. You know, the
Certain
do we just talk about the snubs?
Well, let's talk about an animated program that somebody
Okay.
championed that I know that is here today,
Uh-huh.
that said great things about it, that made me you
Uh-huh.
literally mind melted with me and
I
said and
did.
gave me the power of suggestion. You
Yes.
said, "Watch Blue Eye Samurai." You
Yes.
said, "Watch
Mhm.
that show, Gerald."
Yes.
You annoyed me so much. Oh, I'm sorry, you talked to me so much about that.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. You asked me to go and I watched it.
Yeah.
You're so you're Canadian. How can you be annoying in any way? You're so kind. That you asked me, and I did. And I told you how I felt about it. I mean, it was awesome, and
Yeah.
the animation on it was fantastic for a small operation. I couldn't believe what I was watching for most of it.
Yeah.
It got nominated for Emmy, and it's considered one of the top animated programs for this past season. I don't think it'll beat out X-Men 97 just because there's so much nostalgia love for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are just, going gaga that lived through that as far as their morning watch
Yeah.
or afternoon watch after school.
Yep.
And that they did Disney, Marvel, all the credit in the world for making that exactly the way people want it to be. So
Oh, man, yeah.
I
They
think that's
really
probably
did.
the favorite. So, but Blue
Mhm.
Eye Samurai just being at that level. What are your thoughts on Blue Eye Samurai?
I'm just so proud of the little show that could. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't even know that that's accurate. I don't know anything about the studio that put it together, the animation, the voiceover. I don't know anything about any of them. I just loved the show. And because I championed it so hard with people, you weren't the only person that I annoyed with it. I just feel like it's the little show that could. And yeah, I'm so proud of it. I don't know why I feel like that, but yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm
No,
so excited.
I feel like that way about certain shows.
Yeah.
Severance
Yeah.
from years ago, I was really psycho about, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And or like order, I am going to disassociate my friendship with both you and Joshua if you don't watch the Severance. No, I wasn't that far. That's just kidding, of course, like that. But I was that psycho on Severance, and some other things as well. So I get like that for certain pop culture properties. When I see it's really done really well, I become passionate about it. And I
Sure.
saw
Yeah.
that passion that you had. You were animated. You were just really boisterous about it. Your passion and your love for that show came through
Yeah.
so much that I'm like, I cannot miss this. I
Mhm.
cannot miss this. So
Mhm.
it was well worth my time. But any snubs before we head on out? There's always some good parts and always some deserved, well deserved. They're all well deserved. Although Unfrosted by Jerry Seinfeld seems to be a lot of people going, how'd that happen for a
Yeah.
show that a movie that got a 42 on Metacritic? But okay,
Yeah.
that
That's
seems to be
fine.
the one that people have an issue with, but, any snubs before we head on out?
Am I reading this right? That there's no Kevin Costner in the lead actor in a drama series category?
I think he still would have been eligible because I think he was still there. So,
Right?
Yellowstone, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I'm not 100% sure on that, Melinda, because I don't know the timing of when he left, what series, what
right.
season, but if he was, it was an oversight. I can understand that, yeah.
Yeah. And then, well, I mean, and then just, I mean, really all of the Yellowstone stuff, 1923, Harrison Ford, Helen Mirren, none of like nothing there.
Nothing.
What? What? How are you going to disrespect Helen Mirren like that?
For my major snub, I'm just gonna leave it with 2 words, my friend.
Yeah.
Tokyo,
Mm, yeah.
and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. I'm
Not
sorry,
only do
buddy.
they get no worries. They're not only they'll hear it from me later on this
Yeah.
year, but not only do they get the jab from the Emmys, they got the jab from HBO by canceling the show. So yeah,
Yeah.
double infliction of pain there. But again, I think overall, I think it was very well represented. Shogun did amazing, and that was an amazing
Mhm.
show and much well deserved. They got that right, and obviously as well, The Bear. I think they got that right. Those are two of the best shows out there. I think it really shows that, yes, you could say FX is a cable outlet, but they still have a way to go ahead and entertain fans in a way that most other cable outlets or broadcast outlets can't and won't.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, I think that that's sometimes what it comes down to with this stuff.
Well, what are your thoughts out there on the snubs, surprises, and things they got right with the Emmy nominations? Please let us know your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Well, my friend, you've gutted it out. You are a trooper, an amazing one indeed. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
Last thoughts. Yeah, if you haven't watched Blue Eyed Samurai, what are you doing?
Really, what are you doing?
What are you doing? No. But honestly, you should watch it. Even and I know people are like, it's a cartoon. I don't know that I want to watch a cartoon. It is an incredibly complicated story, and it's interesting, and it's well done, and it's well acted, and it deserves your time. That's what I have to say about the Blue-Eyed Samurai.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, my friend, I am going to look forward to this year's Emmy Awards to see who wins and who doesn't, and to see if all those great actors on The Bear and Shogun will win. But I am also thankful that we have you back and have you talking pop culture with me. My friend, it is, of course, Melinda Barkhouse Ross. Please go ahead and check it out today at Vampires and Vitae. Also, as well, of course, Wizards and Wine and Wild Beyond the Witchlight, indeed. So, from Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great